כל כך חשוב. כל כך חשוב.
That's true if you Misayach Kudah before that, but if you say that you're not Misayach Kudah, then the last minute, yeah, when you're already on the side, you say, okay, I'm not doing this, and you just convince others on just read out with you, then that would help the situation a lot.
You know what I do? I don't do it. He doesn't care about her. You know what I mean? It's not that easy to say. Which soldiers? One who doesn't care about
Yeah, but they have enough soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. It'll still happen. They'll just bring it in every That's the issue. When there's the power from above.
I'll tell you what, but it's not good, okay? If like all the religious soldiers were doing that, they would be in trouble. Okay? Back there were a lot more religious soldiers. I'm not that even doing that today, they don't go into the but that's it. Okay, but the more like serious.
Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Now there are a lot of people that hate the army and don't like that. If I was in their situation, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's crazy.
Let's sing one more time. If you know the words, please sing the words with me, okay? Could be it's good. שירה חדש שמחון גאו לשמך קודש מסעיה שירה חדש שמחון גאו לשמך קודש מסעיה שירה חדש שמחון גאו לשמך קודש מסעיה
Oy Hashem Yireh, Oy Le'oy V'Avoy, Yachat Olam Oyenu, Ve'imlichu ve'yamedu, Oy Hashem Yireh, Oy Le'oy V'Avoy. La 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 oh la 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 oh la 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 a bit stronger la 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 oh la 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 Okay, Shukras everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. So many announcements as always, but most importantly, got to dive in really strong for the refuah shlema of some of our dear chaverim, Alter Baruch ben Sarah, Michal Moshe Ze'ev ben Yehudit, Shoshana Ressa Basahuva, Binyamin Nachman Mordechai ben Ilana, Rav Natan Daniel ben Malka, and please mention to whatever names that you have that you want to daven for, please mention it to yourself. And we're also going Li'ilui Nishmas Eliezer ben Eliyahu Aryeh and Miriam bat Avraham and Zechariah ben Avraham. So, I have to tell you that I've never experienced a more intense Sfirat Omer in my life. Never intense. Hey, welcome. Shomer Yisrael, how you doing? Awesome, awesome. Good to see you. Good to see you. We're winning, right? Okay, we're winning, hopefully. All the bullying in the world should go away by the end of this learning. All the confusions. Never had such an intense Sfirat Omer. I think it's probably because of all, Hashem, the learning that we've been doing. It's just taken like Pesach and didn't just make it a date on the calendar. It's like we're still. It's today. Tonight's a month ago was Seder night, right? Yeah. Sure. I remember a month before Pesach when I said to everyone, like right before Purim, I was like, you realize Seder night's in a month, and everyone's like, oh. And now we're like looking back and saying, wow, Seder was already a month ago. So last week we spoke about how each of these days during the Sfiras Omer, I mean, besides just the certain, the midos that you work on every single night, which is enough on its own to just learn all about what each night's all about and what each week is all about. Now we're in the week of Hod. This is like, there's more than that. We have these crazy intense days of, like we mentioned, Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaTzma'ut, Pesach Sheni today, Lag BaOmer, Yom Yerushalayim. I should have mentioned also Rosh Chodesh Sivan. It's a very big day also, a few days before Shavuot. So there's it's non-stop stuff going on. And the whole thing is to connect Pesach to Shavuot, to take freedom and really stand before God and receive the Torah as a Ben Chorin, as someone that's free. And you see that the people in the world that have done the greatest Kiddush Hashem's, the greatest sanctification of God's name, people in the world that have created the most harmony and new, and Shira Chadasha, we just said Shira Chadasha, those who mamish brought a new Shira into the world were people who knew enough Torah to not care what anyone thinks about them. So, because they're really free people. Not, God forbid, in a way of they knew enough Torah and they were so cocky that they couldn't care what anyone thinks about them. Not that at all. We're talking about it in the most dynamite way. It's like, imagine if the Rebbe, if the Lubavitch Rebbe cared what people would think about him before he had all the decrees to basically save millions and millions of Jewish people out in the diaspora and in Israel. But imagine if, while he was doing this, in his thought process, it was like, what if they say it like that, and how are they going to feel about it like this? Like, If you're mamish rooted in Dvar Hashem, if the Word of God is not something that hangs out with you, but it's rooted in you, not out of holy chutzpah, you don't care what anyone thinks, but out of a real love, you really, what people think about you means nothing. You want everyone to love you. You want to love everybody. Rabbi Nachman explains this best with Avram Avinu. This is in the last Torah, which is in between the first part of Likutei Moharan and the second part of Likutei Moharan. Avram Avinu became Avram Avinu because of one thing. He loved the world so much to the extent that he really didn't care what anyone thought about him, because he was certain, he was clear with what was going on inside of him, and he knew that what he's doing is out of love for people, not out of basic charisma or a temporary sense of salvation. When you have that within you, then you have what this parsha tells us what it's all about. So for a brief second, I want to touch upon the beginning of our parsha, but umamish for a minute, and then bring it into Sfirat Omer, because these shiurim are really for Sfirat Omer, and tonight we have something extremely important to speak about, to learn about. So first of all, I have to just tell you, I'm so excited whenever I see friends during the week of Parshat Bechukosai. Every week, every year, when it comes to Parshat Bechukotai, which is the last parsha of Sefer Vayikra, we learned that the last parsha of each Sefer is a hachana for what's about to take place in the following Sefer, in the following book out of the 5 books of Moses. For instance, the last parsha in Sefer Bereshit is Vayechi. Whatever happens in Vayechi is a prep for Shmot. The last parsha in Sefer Shmot is Pekudei. Whatever it talks about in Parshat Pekudei is a prep for Vayikra. The last parsha in Sefer Vayikra is Bechukotai, and you need to buckle up and put a lot of Bechukotai in your pockets in order to make it through the next Sefer. What's the next Sefer called? Bamidbar. To make it through the desert, that must mean that whatever comes right before the desert is something really, really strong. And this week we learned, based on the Ishbitzer, we're going to learn it also this Shabbos, Bezrat Hashem and Efrat. If you're around, please let us know and join us learning there too. That the words Bechukotai, im Bechukotai Telechu, the Ishbitzer explains that a chok, which is, we know it as a law, comes from the word chakika, chakuk, something which is carved into you, something which is engraved into you. Only when Dvar Hashem is engraved into you, carved into your being, can you then begin to telechu, to actually walk in the world, to actually do something big in the world. But we see that really, you can only do those huge things without caring what everyone thinks about you, only if it's carved into you. And the whole period of Sfirat Omer is to carve in Pesach into us, to prepare us for then Shavuot. This is what it is. We're mamash, it's a carving time. And what that means tonight, I want to look at it. Each year this is going to be from a different angle of how to carve something into you. How to mamash make it part of you. And not meaning part of your essence, and not that, it's another area in my life. Like how many people learn Torah today? Well, you could say, well, I'm here now learning Torah. No. A real Ben Chorin, a real free person, is learning Torah from the moment they wake up, the moment they go to sleep. Now you're saying, what do you think? I'm going to stay in the Beis Midrash all day? There's all types of learning Torah. But how could you not walk through the shuk and learn Torah? And look at people and learn about the Ribbon Shalom. Different times, Chevra. It's different times learning. It's so awesomely powerful. The carving. So the carving of Sfirat Omer, I want to talk about Rabbi Akiva, and I want to share with you one really, really intense idea, which is really shaykh to what happened today also in this. I can't believe that we're so accustomed to call these places illegal outposts. They're not, I don't know what an illegal outpost. I mean, Teaneck is an illegal outpost, you know, like LA is a legal outpost. Malera Chavam is not an illegal outpost. These places are. It's so sad when the talk becomes political. I don't know. I never knew God was political. When it's like God's most political statesman in the world, because he told Avraham Avinu, "I'm giving you Eretz Yisrael." Wow, what a harsh right-wing decree, you know. So Baruch Hashem, we're getting out of those stupid Egyptian shackles too. But this is very, very deep. I shared it a few years ago, and I heard it on a previous year, and it inspired me very much, because it's the same story of today. Just yesterday after shul, or 2 days ago after shul, a friend of mine came into shul a little bit late, and so he stayed a little bit after davening to catch up, and I was there. I had to do something, and he came up to me afterwards and said, "Shlomo, can I ask you something without you thinking anything of me? Can you just hear what I have to say?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, do you really think that things are getting better between all the different zramim, all the different zerem, all the different flows in Yiddishkeit? Do you really think it's getting better? Like, for real? I know you're supposed to feel like we're getting close to Mashiach, everything's getting better, but do you really, really think it's getting better? So I said to him, well, forget what I think. It's not important what I think. There's something going on in you right now. What do you think? What do you, mamish, think? Like, what does it mean to you? So he says to me something so wacky. He says something so funny. He, not going to get involved in what he said, but it brought me to this thing about Rabbi Akiva and his students. Listen to this. How did the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva die? So the Gemara says, it has a very cryptic explanation of what exactly took place there. They said there were 12,000, right? There were 24,000 students, 12,000 pairs, 12,000 chavrusas, and they all died beperek echad. They all died around this time during Sfirat HaOmer, and they all died. The Gemara says a mita ra'ah, a harsh death. V'aya olam shamem, and then there was nothing in the world after this death. It's like such a void. So listen to this crazy thing. What does the Gemara say? One of the explanations. There are many explanations as to the cause of death, and there's many explanations as to how they died. The cause of death we're going to touch upon tonight, but how they died is really, really sad. When did this take place? When did the death of the students of Rabbi Akiva take place? During the time of Mered Bar Kochva. During the Bar Kochva revolt. What was happening then? Listen if this sounds familiar, okay? What I'm about to share with you, just humor me, humor yourselves, and tell me if this sounds familiar at all. Maybe it might sound familiar to somebody. Half the students of Rabbi Akiva said that it's more important right now to sit and learn and not go and join Bar Kochva in the fight against the Romans. And half of them decided, what are you guys, crazy? We have to fight, and we have to fight our enemies off. You guys are crazy sitting here learning. No time. And while they were debating this, which went back and forth, before they even made up their minds or came to some peace, they came in and shechted all the students. I don't know what that reminds me of. Ouch, no? Ouch, Sheba, ouch. That's like a... that's like one of the opinions is that the Romans came and actually shechted them. There's opinion that says askera, which means that they some kind of a strangulation, there's some kind of a thing that went through their throat that killed. But I heard this actually from Reb Zalman. I think it's Reb Zalman Melamed. I heard this that we still haven't made peace between Pesach and Shavuos. You know what that means? Make peace between Pesach and Shavuos. Pesach is the Chad Leumi. It's the national holiday of an Am, right? Shavuot is Chag HaTorah, is the holiday of Torah. And we still haven't figured out a way how to bring peace between Pesach to Shavuos. And every year during Sfirat HaOmer, we have another opportunity to figure out how to connect the two. Because the Mered Bar Kochva, when you look at Jewish history, remains one of the most puzzling eras in Jewish history. None of us can really understand Rabbi Akiva's claim that Bar Kochva was Mashiach. None of us can understand how anyone could go against Rabbi Akiva. None of us understand how 24,000 students of the greatest sage in Am Yisrael were killed in such a short period. So besides understanding or not understanding, just look at what, on a big level, that every time Sfirat HaOmer comes, what's the inyan to mourn Rabbi Akiva's students? it doesn't mean that we're crying because they were killed and because they died. We're crying because we still haven't figured out how to prevent that kind of clash from happening today, which brings history to the present, mamish to the present, which brings dreams to the future. It just connects haya hova v'yeh. It makes it all just right in its right place. So I was thinking about this a lot. I was thinking about, well, Ribbon Shleilim, do you really expect us to figure out the way? After all these years, do you really expect us to figure out the way? How to connect Pesach to Shavuot? How to connect the nationality of me to the Yid in me? Is there a difference? Is it all one? What's going on over here?
So when I was listening to Shir of Rav Elyashiv once, that's all, who said that's exactly when he was he was Tokef the Datim Leumim and said exactly that's it. You call yourselves Datim Leumim, you call it with two words. He says you're saying that the Leumiut is different from Dat. He says by doing that, he says you're proving my point that Sionut is not Dat. He says that that was the issue, and then calling yourself Dati Leumi means that the Leumiut, Tzionut, is not the religion. It means you're two things. Which is the issue with the...
On that topic, I heard this week that the Rebbe once said that modern Orthodox is an oxymoron because it absolutely doesn't mean anything. That's like saying a walking standstill, because the way we understand it is like something, more new and Orthodox. It's something that's very set. Whatever, it's crazy stuff. What I wanted tonight, the last thing I wanted tonight is to walk out of here saying, wow, we really don't have a chance. That would stink, that would really, really stink. I see people that are hungry for Torah today, they're not hungry for information, Bezrat Hashem, Baruch Hashem. I feel like there's less of a hunger of info and facts and Jewish history, which is important. But there's a hunger to feel like not only do we have a chance, we're living the chance. The Torah that I'm choosing to learn is the Torah of Pesach Sheni, of second chances. Of every year, I'm learning the same things, but this year, do I have a chance to actually not have to mourn anymore? Which would be the highest thing in the world. So, we have a piece tonight from Reb Shlomo, which is a very, very, very to the point. It's not like... Sometimes Reb Shlomo dances around something for a few hours, and then at the end, they'll be able to say everything he said in one line. Tonight, it's almost like every single line is mamish the same thing. Just to explain this on the outside, sometimes we have these teachings from Reb Shlomo, where you really do have to have a general knowledge of Yesodot HaChasidut, of the foundations of Chasidut, of the principles of Chasidut. Tonight, he will be touching on a foundation, on Yesod of Chasidut. But even if you're not familiar with the lingo, even if the language is a little bit far out for you, please throw in the word called bitachon, of this trust. Like, I trust the Ribbon Shleilim that he sent me to this holy place tonight to learn strong words, to continue taking me out of Egypt through the thing which we call a direction, which is the ultimate Yetziat Mitzrayim. We're continuing what we did last week. We started a direction. If freedom without direction, if that's another form of slavery, that means that every day of Sfirata Omer, I'm adding on to that direction of where I'm heading. People have amazing plans. People have dreams. What are those dreams worth if no one is there for you to explain to you how to get there to your dreams? You know how much pain is caused in the world when dreams just remain in the realm of a dream and not something that I actually see happening in my life? It actually causes more pain than if you didn't have a dream at all. Because being disappointed by expectations is murder. Is murder. I once saw a chassid, and he explained to me in one look of his, I understood the whole concept that Mashiach has to come. It's not like it's an opinion. He looked like he was looking up to the Ribbon Shleilim. The way he sang it was the way of look, God. Like the Abd once said, I think he said it in other words, he said, God, I'm I'm such an old. Do you feel good fooling an old man that's been waiting for Mashiach his whole life? I mean, it's a pretty harsh thing to say, right? Or like I think he said, if I knew that that I'd have to wait this long, it wouldn't happen. I don't know if I'd be able to last. So we're at the end, meaning we're at the end of we're at the beginning. Like mamish, this is it. It's very, very clear. No one person, as much as I admire a certain person that's doing something big in the world right now, there's no, everything is tovara. Everything is good and bad. Everything. Besides one thing. And that's what we're going to be learning about tonight. What's that one thing that can't confuse me? And this is a key ingredient in Sfirat HaOmer. It's a key ingredient in Yiddishkeit Bichlal, but it's a key ingredient for the Torah to become chakuk into me. Bechukotai tedecho. For something to be inscribed, engraved, mamish, tattooed into my neshama, lahavdil. I'm sure there's already those kind of things now also, soul tattoos and a whole new geschäft. Alright, pass these around please. Make sure you guys get. Chakuk, yeah. Chakuk. Okay. All right. Did you reach the back?
There's more.
Okay, great. Alright. Is there one more? Is there an extra one at all? One or two? Two extra ones? No, papers. Papers. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I want to sing. If I want to sing that nigun again later before I forget it. Okay. Let's sing it again. All right. Look. So again, just to repeat this last thing that I mentioned, that there is one thing in the world, I think, I'm totally off, that's not exactly me'urav tovara, but that it's all good. We have a problem with our trust, is that we've been let down so many times. Maybe sometimes it's our fault, sometimes people mamish let us down. But forget all that for a second. What is it always worth putting all your kishkas into? So look what it is tonight. Because I just bless us all before we learn this, and while we're learning this, to remove the element of disappointment in this world, in our lives. And I don't know what that means exactly, but I know it sounds really, really warm and nice and good. Maybe tonight we'll understand it a bit clearer. Reb Shlomo says like this: when you're waiting something with all of you, you count the days. You even count the minutes. I mean, when I thought my parents were surprising me, taking me during Asay Semi Tshuva in 1993, Michael came to Eretz Yisrael. I don't have to say the last name, right?
No?
Huh? Apparently I do, yeah. The king of pop came to Eretz Yisrael. And I thought my parents, if I have to say now his last name, I'm going to have a hard time tonight, yeah. So I remember that my parents were, I mean, they might hear this later, Mechila already, right now, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I was certain that you were surprising Eitan and I and taking us to Park Yarkon to hear Michael play on the Zayin Tishrei. Remember, Sugar, the 7th day of Tishrei, right? And I counted. Wow, did I count from the time that I knew that he was coming to Eretz? I had a whole sticker book, and I'm revealing it all now. I end my last look. I'm revealing it all. Let's be real. Let's just be real. Scary thing is, I'd probably do the same thing today if he was still alive. But whatever, good point. The anticipation, which didn't happen because they never took me, but the anticipation was one of the greatest experiences I ever had in my life. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Now, lahavdil elef milyonei bilyonei havdalot. Not to compare at all, but to understand the concept. I think Reb Shlomo once said, one other tzaddik once said that, that waiting for a baby is the closest thing to Mashiach coming, because no one knows exactly when it's going to be. So therefore, it makes the art of, like, when you know exactly when something's going to take place, you can be very excited, and it's like a nerve exciting. But when you're not sure exactly what it is, you have to go into the world of like bittul, of like, I don't know exactly when. I'm just I don't know. I don't know what it is. But when you're waiting with all of you, when all of you is waiting for something, each moment becomes either eternal or divine, special. Each moment engraves something into you. You know, Tzaddikim have told us, the hachana for a mitzvah sometimes is much greater than the mitzvah itself. The preparation for a mitzvah is sometimes much greater than the actual mitzvah itself. I mean, I saw this many years growing up in yeshiva. The hype towards Shavuos was so high, and the intensity, right? In Sfiras HaOmer and all these beautiful days, but Shavuos night came and everyone was, yawning by 2:30 in the morning, and it wasn't so high and divine anymore. But we were all yearning and longing for 49 days to feel something so amazing. And then once we got there, it was like, oh, we're here. Why couldn't we just stay? Can we go back to waiting for this? Can we go back waiting for this? But the way we are counting is so beyond. We don't say every day is one day less to wait, one day less to wait. Friends, the most beautiful thing is to wait for something. There are some dead people walking around in the world, and you know why they're dead? Because they're not waiting for anything anymore. Sorry about the typo, do any of us realize how much life is waiting for us? Now, what does that mean, how much life is waiting for us? Every second, what does it mean to be in tune with the Kadosh Baruch Hu? That right now, as we're speaking, we talked about this last week, there is chayut, there is aliveness, there's life that's pouring down from Shamayim. That's what keeps the world going. Because there's always life coming down for us. We think that we're only supposed to be waiting for big things, big occasions, but the truth is, if we knew the secret of time and space like we spoke about last week, every morning when we wake up, instead of being like, what do I have to do today, we would start the day with like, oh my God, wow, something that never existed before is going to happen today. I hope I catch it. And who lives like this? I don't know who lives like this, but that is a goal. That when you wake up in the morning, you're so beyond excited to mamish take your little kli, your bucket, and gather all the light which is coming down every single day. How do people that are very old, that are aging, that are older and older in life, how is it that they're able to maintain such a young and positive energy? Like I had today lunch with one of my best friends in the world who just turned 79, and he is so, he's not bored at all about anything. It was so inspiring. Sorry, can you close that window for a few minutes till they finish with my... Thanks. I couldn't understand how it's possible at his age to actually still be moved, touched, and excited by something. It's only because he realizes there's new. If we're still around, it's because there's new things coming down every day. That's what it means here. Reb Shlomo says, do any of us realize how much life is waiting for us? Meaning, there's so much to live for. You know, really high moments in Reb Shlomo's life in concerts. You know, he said something repeatedly, and it was so deep. I don't know if anyone picked up on it. It took me like 10 years of working on his material to understand what he was saying, and I realized I'm only beginning to understand it. He said, friends, do you know what's the deepest thing about life? Life itself. And like the crowd is dead silent, kind of like right now, and you know, what does that mean? Life itself. It's like, do you realize how many of us maybe could have been not living right now? So just the fact that we're alive and we're feeling something is like the deepest thing in the world. Continue. I travel a little bit. I'm sure you do too. When you come to the airport, does anyone say hello to each other? Nobody says hello. Everyone's too busy. You have to run to the plane. There's no time. Sometimes the plane is delayed for 20 minutes, and then people start to smile at each other, asking, where are you going? Even talking to each other a little bit. One time I was in Amsterdam, the plane was delayed for 2 hours, and another 2 hours, then for 8 hours. I want you to know, the last 2 hours we were waiting, there was so much love between the people. This same, I don't know what airline, I never heard of, you know, I've never seen this before, and I've been delayed many times, but it might be before the era of you know, and the scariest, I've had moments where I'm traveling through, changing planes, and I walk through a whole airport, and maybe there's like, you know, 10 people out of 500 people that my eyes see that aren't, you know, so it's pretty freaky. So I guess this is, you know, this is the 70s he's talking. So he's saying there was like time to wait. Everyone started waiting together. He said, how much love was between people. The same person, if the plane had left on time, he would have never dreamt of buying me a drink or buying a gift for me or my baby. But look what he says here. But because we became close through waiting together, he cares about my baby. Okay, this is what he did again, is that he is taking the deepest musagim in Kabbalah and Chassidut, and he's bringing it to us in such an everyday life. How would you coin this term that what he just said right now? What would be the proper Kabbalistic way of expressing what he said right now? Huh? Ishtalmut? What's that? Ishtalmut? Choliot. I was thinking of another word. You ever heard of the Hishtokekut? Kisufin? Longing? This is like, what he did right now is explained, okay, Yidin, how do you long for something together? How are you getting excited for something together? The weird thing is that when you're not forced to stop, you don't recognize most things that are around you. Because our idea, our concept of that which we need to get is never next to us. It's always where I have to go, the next thing, the next person, the next meeting, the next achievement, the next YouTube clip. Everything is always the next one. It's not what is next to me right now. So here we come to another understanding of Reb Shlomo explaining the basic mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, which we say every year, and it's good to repeat this a million times over. That what does the Torah expect me to do about love? Who am I supposed to love? What's the translation into English of that pasuk, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha? Love thy neighbor as love yourself. Really? We're right now in HaGilboa, what is this, 18? 26? What's this number? 18. So according to the Torah, does that mean that I'm supposed to love whoever is in HaGilboa 16 and HaGilboa 20? What's the answer? Yes. Shocking. No. Check this out. You think the Torah expects you to love the whole world? Okay. Reb Shlomo will explain it. How it's like the only place I ever saw him have shown them with the King James translation of a word into, you know. Listen to what he said. Yeah, because he hated King James and his translation. But an amazing thing that he says is that the Torah only expects you to love whoever is your neighbor at any given moment. Do you hear? This is unbelievable. We always think love is that concept of what's there, what I have to go through, but if you're not forced to stop and say who's next to you, you're not mechavening, you're not really understanding what the Torah is talking to you about love. Because how can I, right now, should I be busy loving someone that's not next to me? Maybe. Are we supposed to love the whole world? Yes. Do you think that God expects us to love the whole world in the moment? No. Do you think God expects us to love all of Am Yisrael in the moment? Maybe. But God doesn't put the whole world next to me every given moment. God just puts whoever's next to me in the moment right now. So Reb Shlomo says, this is what he meant whenever he would turn to someone and say, you're the best. And then a minute later, someone would come to him and say, Rebbe, I love you so much. He said, you're the best. Well, I heard you say that a minute ago to the guy before me. It's like, yeah, at that moment, he was the one person that was standing next to me. And at that one moment, no one else existed. And therefore, he was the best. Anyone who is your neighbor at any given moment. What happened to us in life, especially with cell phones? Mamish. I had a long talk with my brother about detoxing together. I don't know how in the world it's going to happen, but we're gonna see if we could try for 1 day a week and not Shabbos, maybe. What happens is that you do not realize who's next to you. And the reason why we were put into the world to live amongst people is to realize who's next to you. But this has taken away the ability to perform the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha kmo shetzarich. So this is so awesomely beautiful and heartbreaking in the same instant. All I have to do right now is love whoever's next to me. So Reb Shlomo says, what happened at that moment at the airport? That person who developed emotions and feelings to me, how was that caused? Because we were forced for a second to not think about where we're going, and we were just forced to be like, where am I right now? One of the tricks in becoming direction is that we think, what am I supposed to do with what I have? Where am I going? How do I do it? What do I do with what I know? Where am I going? No. First of all, where are you? Who's next to you? What are you feeling in the moment? So many of our thoughts have nothing to do with what we're feeling in the moment. It's about what we might feel if a million different things happen in the next infinite amount of time in the future. That's kind of meshuggah. That's kind of crazy. But if we just had thoughts about who's next to me right now, what's next to me right now, what's in my life right now, in the moment, like we spoke last week about, instead of having circular thoughts, we'll have Chodesh Iyar thoughts. What does that mean, Chodesh Iyar thoughts? Every month in the Hebrew calendar has a letter that it's connected to each month. Like each month has a Shevet, each month has a certain tikkun. What's the letter of the month of Iyar? Does anyone know? Vav. What is Vav? Why is it Vav? According to Kabbalah, Vav is the straight line, a building going all the way up. Like David Zeller, Alav Shalom, used to say, make Vav, not war. He had a great line. One of my favorite lines. Make Vav, not war, right? Make Vav, make a direct connection. Just make something that's in the moment going up. Create thoughts. Be in tune with thoughts that are actually on some kind of a ladder. Right? Climbing somewhere. Not those circular thoughts where you end up exactly in the same place you started with, and you're under the impression that you just experienced a very deep moment of spiritual elation and a psychological revolution. It usually doesn't happen like that. In Chodesh Iyar, it's all about right now, every day, every moment. As much as I'm excited for what's going to be, it's right about now. Okay, let's continue. I want you to know, third paragraph, waiting only comes from your soul, nowhere else. Not from your mind, not even from your heart, but from the deepest depths of you. Why am I waiting for something? Imagine I have a date with this girl and she's late, and after a half an hour, I walk away. But when it comes up to another girl I could sit there for 2 months and wait for her to come. I can sit on a street corner and wait for 2 months. Why? Why? With one girl, I'm done after half an hour. Another girl, I'll wait for 2 years. Because I'm touched by them in the deepest depths of me. And this is what gives you the strength to wait. This is very important. What gives us the strength to wait? However, we've been waiting for 2,000 years for something that hasn't happened yet. What gives us the strength to wait? So look at it. Don't look at this. Let's look at things backwards, different now. We have been waiting for so long for something. That must mean that our neshamas are touched in the deepest depths by Kadosh Baruch Hu, whether we realize it or not. Because if not, we wouldn't be waiting anymore. Waiting comes from the soul. When you wait for something, and you really anticipate it, and you wait for it, and you're committed to wait, im kol ze achake lo, with all of it, with everything. There's such powerful words the Rambam has in the 13 Principles of Faith. Im kol ze, with everything, with all the reasons that can convince me to stop waiting, achake lo, I still wait, because my neshama is touched in such a deep way. It comes from the soul. It doesn't come from anywhere else in the world. Let me tell you, friends, bless you. Now, look how he calls it spade for spade. Look what he does here. If the whole world is really waiting to make peace, they would love each other like mad. Only the people who don't want peace are not waiting for it. The whole thing is not happening. So here he said something amazing. He said the waiting for peace means that you're already in a peaceful situation. People that are so mad and say, I'm waiting for peace to take place. Come on, would you sell them one, like, would you trust them with anything? He's saying something so revolutionary, and if it's not clear, shecht me. I want this to become very clear right now, okay? Please stop me and grill it into me. Because this means I'm not giving it over clear, it's not really clear to me. The person who is waiting for the Ribono Shel Olam for real is the most godliest person in the world. A person who is waiting for peace in the most beautiful, real way must be the most peaceful person in the world. You become that which you long for if it's real. If it's not real, you're not really waiting for that which you claim that you're waiting for. How many people say, I'm waiting for my zivug, but if they're really waiting for their zivug, they already are doing a bunch of the work which prepares them for their zivug. But if they're not really waiting for their zivug, they say, I've done everything, I'm trying it all. They're not close to that which they're waiting for. Like Reb Shlomo said in Rabbi Nachman, we are not who we are right now in the moment, because maybe where I am right now is not such a gewalt place to be in. I am that which I am waiting for. That defines me. What defines me is what I'm looking forward to, what I'm anticipating. Now this is a gewalt thing. If you're waiting for something so intensely and so beautifully, you know what happens to you? You're still focusing on the future, but the moment of the present becomes so much more alive and beautiful as well. It's like we have this goal, it's called Shavuos, it's called receiving the Torah. But if it was only about what will happen one day, then I don't have to care about anything that's happening to me in the moment. When I get there, I'll know what life is all about. A real Yid knows what we say every morning in davening. We don't say, Yismach lev motzei Hashem, happy is the heart who found God. What do we say? To Alexander Rebbe Torah, Yismach lev mevakshe Hashem. Happy is the heart who learns the beauty of waiting, of anticipating, of looking. That's what brings the real simcha. You know what doesn't bring the real simcha? The illusion of finding an answer. Anyone who has found an answer never became more happy or content in life. It's people that fall in love with the anticipation, with the hishtokekut, with the kisufin, with the longing for something beautiful. Well, we could go on so many things right now. I really want to stay with this, but we could really dive right now to any different area in what we just said right now and spend hours just on that right now. That a man really is defined by that which he is longing for. Yeah, and it's coming up a lot in classes. Do you know who could tell what you're really longing for or not? Your child knows exactly if you want to be with them and spend time with them or not. You could deceive the living daylights out of yourself thinking, I'll show them that I really want to spend time with them. I see it with my children. They know. They mamish know if you are what you're waiting for or not. They really are so close to Olam HaAtzilus. They're so close to when everything was a world of no games and no deception, that they can really sense if you are what you're longing for or not. It's an amazing concept. Child can look at his parent and say, his or her parent, and realize, are you longing to be closer to me? Do you want to be closer to me? Or you're just doing the right parental thing? The children can see this so clearly. I feel it really strong. Okay, let's continue. Let me tell you, friends. Oh, sorry, we saw that next paragraph. Now, everybody knows that between Pesach and Shavuos, Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, and they all died because they didn't honor each other. Suddenly, on Lag BaOmer, something happened. They began honoring each other. What happened? Like, why did it stop over there? Right? It says, Shelo nagu kavod ze lezeh. And the death stopped when kavod was restored into the world. So I want to share this with you. Do you know what honor means? Look what he says. Maybe now when we say Melo kol haaretz kvodo, we'll finally begin to understand what we're saying. Because what does that mean? Your honor is in the whole world. What does that mean? What's honor? I stand up for a Rav when he walks into the room. That's what I was told honor is, right? I don't honor something unless there's only one like it in the world. Why don't I honor apples? Because there are thousands of apples. Why don't people honor each other when they are just numbers? What does a number mean? A number means you're like everybody else. So some people know the holiness of names, and that every name is like different, I guess. But some people don't even know the holiness of names. Your name is Moshe? Oh, I know thousands of Moshe. Like, we're looked at, the way people are looking at us is like, what kind of grouping can I put you in so that I don't have to honor you, right? I only honor you when I think there's only one of you in the world. And then how do we get let down? It's not that they disappointed us. It's that we group people into, oh, they're not really that unique. It's not really just the only thing that they did in the world. And it's such a scary grouping because we basically take away from the uniqueness and the individuality of just that person. But what are we really doing? We're removing honor in the world. Honor means that you're just one in the world. Now let me ask you, where does honor come from? So everybody knows that during the time between Pesach and Shavuos, again, sadly enough, 24,000 Rabbi Akiva's pupils died, and the Gemara says because Shelo nagu kavod ze lezeh, they didn't honor each other so much. When do you not honor someone else? Listen what he says. Now he's tying everything we learned tonight together. When do you not honor someone else? When you can't wait. What does that mean, when you can't wait? Can't you wait? Don't you believe that maybe they will be better one day? You see, if you have patience with yourself, then you have patience with somebody else as well. Gewalt, do you have patience? Now the truth is, Chevra, one day I'll probably do this. This whole class could have been summed up in the last sentence. Everything we said right now could be summed up in this last sentence. Let's do it again. Please look inside. You see, if you have patience with yourself, then you have patience with somebody else as well. Gewalt, do you have patience? Remember, we wanted to leave Egypt. We wanted to go right away to Mount Sinai. Immediately. We wanted to go immediately to Eretz Yisrael. But what would have happened if we would have immediately gotten these things? what wouldn't we have learned? The secret of how much happiness, how much pnimius we gain and we become real people by the art of waiting. We've said this many times. I'm sorry if I'm sounding repetitive tonight. This is an important thing. In Hebrew, there are two main words for waiting, and it's our choice which one we're choosing to do. There's either savlanut, which means patience, which comes from the word lisbol, which means I'm going to suffer, or I'll tolerate this. But then in Hebrew, there's the word hamtana, which means waiting, which comes from the word matana. The waiting period in our lives, this is the celebration of free will. It either becomes painful, or it either becomes the greatest gift in the world. Now let's take these very lofty concepts into our lives. When don't you honor somebody else? When you can't wait to see if they're mamish individual. When you group them and label them immediately upon meeting them, based on any exterior inyan. And you can't wait. Not what I see is what I get. It cannot be there's more than what's in front of me. I have a good eye. My mommy told me I'm very intuitive since I'm a little boy. I could do these things. I could detect. I know how to mamish. This is it, right? What are you doing at that moment? En lecha savlanut. You have no patience. Rabbi Akiva's students, they knew each other too well. I know how you think. We're chavrusas. I know you. When we learn like this, you're going to think like this immediately. If we don't say like this, you're going to say like, I know you. That dangerous statement, I know you. Reb Shlomo said that's one of the most Amalekite statements in the world. To say about somebody else, I know them like an open book. Why is it so horrible? Because if you know somebody like an open book, you'll just finish the book, close it, and get another book. Because what more do you need to know? What else is going on in there that you need to know? Or you could use the moments of waiting as hamtana, of waiting to see what HaKadosh Baruch Hu put right in front of you now. Not what's going to be, who's your re'acha right now in the moment. So Reb Shlomo says, "Ma ze shelo nagu kavod ze leze." They really thought they knew each other so well that there's no way in the world that they themselves are longing to be deeper or more precious. But Reb Shlomo says here, this last statement is so important. How do you receive this gift of waiting bechavod? It's very simple. If you don't have patience for yourself, don't you dare think for 1 second that you could go to somebody else and be so loving and patient and kind and not pushy. If you, on your own, if you have zero patience, hamtana, about your own derech in life, your own place in life, don't think you'll have patience for anybody in the world. You're kidding yourself.
You said that there was going to be an idea that would not have the iruvia of tovera. I just didn't know what was it.
Odlo.
Odlo Yam.
Yiganu leze, but I'm going to hopefully sharpen this. Kama sheyoter. In this world, look, what are we always looking for? It's good you're saying this. We're looking for that movement. We're looking for that figure. We're looking for that person. We're looking for that umbrella beneath which everything will make sense and everything will add up and everything will make it like worth my while of waiting, right? Is it really scary to like finally acknowledge that not only does it not exist anymore, but that wasn't the point of Briat HaOlam? That's not the... God created everything. The point wasn't that there's that one person. Under his umbrella, everything goes. At least not since Moshe Rabbeinu, but Moshe Rabbeinu, if you came to him and said, I know it's all under your umbrella, he'd kick you out of his tent and say, buy your own umbrella. Right? That's a real Rebbe. That's a real tzaddik. Jeremy, what is only goodness? What is something that doesn't have tovara? Hamtana. B'kedusha. Waiting with kedusha. Not waiting, I'm just going to wait and sit back. Waiting with kedusha, which ultimately grows kisufim, longing for something deeper, only becomes more and more refined and beautiful. For example, the saddest thing in the world is when someone stops longing for their soulmate once they found their soulmate. Wait, is he crazy? What's he talking about? I waited for 30 years, I finally found her. Why do I have to keep on waiting? No, you're not waiting. You were longing for your zivug. But you think that once you found your zivug, you're not supposed to long for them even. You only long for something once you have it. You only really miss something, not once it's gone, when you have it. It's deeper than missing, it's a longing. What God didn't want us to do is to give us the Torah and that we would forget what it tasted like when we longed for it. So this just proves how deep the coming of the Mashiach really is. Because if it's been taking this long, it's only because when he comes, it'll be a bechukotai. It'll be so chakuk. It'll be so engraved in every Jewish neshama because we've been waiting incarnation after incarnation, Gilgul after Gilgul. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and the Rebbe told us all to scream, Ad Masai, until when? How much longer do I have to wait in order to understand that which I will be receiving? Not only that which I already have, but that which I'll be receiving. Every day that Mashiach hasn't come yet can either be viewed as Gehenna or a great chesed from Shemayim. Why a great chesed from Shemayim? Because God is giving me another day in order to what? To long. The only way you know what track you're on is if you stop right now and you say, okay, Rebbeinu Shalom, today. And this is what Sfirat HaOmer is every single night. Reb Shlomo said, after you bench Sfira, what do you say? Why don't you say that after any other mitzvah? That Hashem bring, after you say any other bracha, Hashem bring back the Beis HaMikdash. Because when you begin to learn the beauty and the power of moments, and how each day has so much life in it, then you really understand what it means to be waiting for that which we're all been waiting for. Instead of feeling like you're just very mushpa, you're very influenced by some Zionist propaganda or something, I don't know if you know anything about those things, Jeremy, but you know what I mean. Kisufin is only good. Lachsof. Kiza come. What's the word? Nichsof, nichsafti. What really grabs me? Lirot mehera betiferet uzecha. This art of longing is not. It's an amazing concept because what we're seeing over here is like all we want to do is always become godly. And what's godly? Haya hover ve'iyah. Past, present, and future is all one. You know when things become mamish one? When you long for something so deep, but the longing for the future makes the moments right now more refining. Like Reb Shlomo said, if you're really longing for peace, you become that which you are longing for. You're becoming a peaceful person. If you're really longing for the Torah to get into your kishkas it's only 3 weeks from now, right? If you're really longing for that to happen, it doesn't happen Shavuos night. It doesn't happen after like the 5th cup of coffee at 4 in the morning. I think it hit me now. Shara Chamishim. It happens every moment. And then what do you realize? Oh my God. Every day is special. Every moment is special. Every person is special. But really, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, meaning also tohav et haregaim that are like reacha. Love moments that are like always next to you. Don't just fall in love with moments which once were. Or don't fall in love with moments which you hope that once will be. Fall in love with every moment that is next to you at any given situation, at any given second. Because if I believe that God is a kol yachol, God can blow my mind any second. At the end of his life, Reb Shlomo was asked a very important question in an interview he did with Rabbi Mickey Rosen, alav shalom, from Yakar. And we're on with this. It's very important. And again, it ties this whole thing in together. He said, it was asked, like, there's two Torahs, there's two ways of like living. There's the Torah of the moment, like what I have to do right now. Then there's the Torah of always, what's always in my heart, no matter no matter what I have to do. What's going on always? What am I doing on an everyday level? And what am I doing in the moment? How do I know what to do in the moment? And the truth is that you can't know which one, what to do, unless you're living them both at the same time. You can't know what to do in the moment unless in your heart and soul you're so chakuk about the Netzach Yisrael. Rav Bravender told us at our Chag HaSmicha that there's no, he says, the reason why we learn to become Rabbanim and you learn what you learn for Smicha is because unless you're kashur, you're connected to what Abaye and Rava were talking about and understanding why it bothered them and where they were heading to with their machloket or whatever it was, you don't understand what Rachel and Sarah are talking about on the Shuk either. To understand Am Yisrael Mamash right now, you have to have the Torah of always. To understand what's bothering you and me, that's why we learn Torah, to understand ourselves, not to understand other people. However, you also have to know that every single second is new, and God might need something from you right now, which He didn't need until now. Ha, beha, talia. Each of these things are dependent on each other. And the only way to be able to be grounded and rooted and carved into both is if I trust Hashem that He's giving me the opportunity to perfect the art of waiting. And this is a celebration of free will. I either make this interim period of time torturous, sevel, savlanut, or I make it mamash hamtana, rishon matana. That's where I celebrate my free will. And there's only good when it comes to hamtana. There's only good when you're sitting there and you're becoming that which you're longing for. So I give us a bracha, and give me a bracha back, that which we long for should really make us who we are. It kind of means that, just get a gut check of Am Yisrael. We've been waiting for 2,000 years for Mashiach to come. Do you know what that says about us? At the risk of sounding very, very controversial right now, do you know how messianic we really are? Because we've been waiting for Mashiach for 2,000 years. I have this cute little word I said on one of the albums that in Hebrew, the word for waiting, the chakot, change the kaf to the kaf to the kuf. In Hebrew, what does it mean lechakot mishu? To emulate, to imitate, to be like. So this is Gavalt. And even though he hasn't come yet, in kozen, nonetheless, achakelo, meaning, whatever I think Mashiach's going to be like, I'm going to start imitating him already right now. I'm already taking the longing, and I'm living the longing already right now. So I give us all another strong bracha, and give my family and I back also bracha, that we should fall in love with that imitation that we take upon ourselves of who Mashiach is. Because each individual imitation or emulation of what it is makes the beautiful picture of the Binyan Shalom, that Hashem needs each of our dreams and visions of what it's going to be like when Mashiach comes to make the full picture. And if you're not going to dream, then my dream isn't complete. Mamish. If you're not going to dream and start living it, then my dream itself isn't complete either. That's really a chivrusa. Unless you're dreaming, then my dream doesn't mean anything. Alright, listen to this. Shira chadasha shibchu v'olim l'shimcha agadol asvasaya ay shira chadasha shibchu v'olim l'shimcha agadol asvasaya ay shira chadasha shibchu v'olim l'shimcha agadol asvasaya Shira Chadasha Shibchu V'olim l'shimcha agadol asvasaya Yachad kol ha'vayenu ve'imlichu ve'yamnu Oy Hashem yirah Thank you, everyone. Shikoya. Thank you for coming. We'll see you all next week.
I don't like how he says
It's like saying Admatai in the middle of the right before like Admatai.
But really what I mean is the same time. It's supposed to get my title when we're talking about in the army, we say out my time.
Listen, it's like my kid thinks I'm an absolute idiot because when we went in and he told us yesterday, okay, you need to go and clean the bathroom. I go outside and I yell, put your brief.
Yeah. I thought that may be the first time I did these things. I said like what? I tell you what, at the beginning. beginning, every time I went to base, I would say, Hashem, you're Hashem, Kol Yisrael, Hashem, Kol Yisrael. I used to. It's like any other mitzvah.
No, that's the issue. That's what Reb Shlomo always says. That's the biggest issue when you make something shikra.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I just want to give the world to me. Mashiach's there to live, right? Like Mashiach days to live.
What was it that you said I should write down?
Oh, I think that you'll be able to clear this with the searching for emotional emotions.
Well, isn't that the truth?
The second before I got to share, I'm so